Hi, I'm Kelly from Bespoke Creative Design. Welcome back. If you joined me for yesterday's free online workshop, I hope you enjoyed it. I've had some lovely messages and reviews, so thank you for those. My idea for this was we're in October half term, it's supposed to be fun, Halloween stuff going on, but when I looked online there was very little available, obviously with the pandemic going on, so I decided I would try to do some quick and easy fun crafts, Halloween based crafts for any kids that might be stuck at home, or for anybody looking after children at home, pulling their hair out going what on earth can I do with them this week. And I've tried to keep them really affordable and cheap and using materials that you'd find around the home, so you don't have to drag yourself off to the expensive arts and craft shops down the road and spend a small fortune. So I've tried to find alternatives to stop that so that you can stay in the house, source some materials and make some really fun stuff. So yesterday we looked at Day of the Dead paper plate skulls. If you missed it and you want to catch up with it, I'll tell you about that later at the end of the session. But today we are going to be looking at these rather fun and really simple Halloween tubes. I don't really know what to call them yesterday. Little mini sculptures if you like. We've got a Frankenstein, like a zombie or a mummy. I'm in the right places, otherwise I'll get in a pickle later when I'm showing you how to do them. A Dracula and a pumpkin. So they're just some ideas, and they're all based around just a cardboard tube that you might have at home. So, you know, like a kitchen roll insert or a toilet roll tube. I've cheated a little bit. I spend quite a lot of time down in Hobbycraft, and when I see things that are fun and on sale, I don't really know what I'm going to use them for, but they're on sale, I usually pick them up. And at the moment, they've got these cardboard tubes, so they're slightly thicker than your toilet roll holder or your kitchen roll insert. And they are 4 for £2 at the moment. Not that I'm plugging Hobbycraft, but just letting you know that if you're down that way, they're quite a good buy, I think anyway. But you don't have to do that. Like I say, use the stuff that you have around the home and save some money. Now the basis of the tubes, the Halloween tubes, characters, whatever you want to call them, as I said, is the cardboard tube. But you can see that they've all got a predominant base colour. So the Frankenstein is green, Dracula over here is pink, we've got the pumpkin obviously that is orange, and believe it or not, underneath all the bandage there is a grey. I've covered my brown tube with grey. You don't really have to worry too much about that one because the bandage covers mostly everything. Now for me, because I do this for a job, I'm an artist, I have lots of paper and card already at home, but to say to somebody, oh, just wrap a tube in green card, you might not have that at home, but you have got alternatives around that you can use. So if you were to use a kitchen roll tube, for example, and you were going to make your Frankenstein, you could either paint that tube green, or you could sit colouring in with a felt tip pen if you've got the patience to do that, or you can source other stuff that you might have around the home. So you might have, for example, a compost bag that you put, you know, all the rubbish food into, that's green, that you could wrap around the tube. That works. A high street store, Marks and Spencer's, use a lot of green in their packaging. So if you've got a Marks and Spencer's bag or something like that, you could use that. If you're worried about there being print on the outside of the bag, I'm not advertising at all here, you could turn the bag inside out and cover the text. So that's the green. I'm just telling you these ideas now so you don't have to go out and buy a load of coloured card, which I know can be quite pricey. The pink, I struggled finding alternatives to the pink. Obviously, I've used card here. Again, you could paint it pink. My next door neighbour, I went and ran through her cupboards. She had an old tablecloth. They're the throwaway tablecloths that you get from Asda. Oh, I'm advertising all over the place. I think they're about £2. She also had some pink serviettes that you could use. There's some ideas for the pink. Anyway, for the grey, the mummy, like I say, you really don't have to worry about putting the grey underneath because the bandage covers most of the tube anyway. But if you wanted to, this little bit that pokes out here where the eyes will sit, you could use newspaper, just grey newspaper. That will do the job to cover that. Let me get rid of the pink and the grey. And finally, more advertising, the orange base of the pumpkin. If you haven't got orange card and you haven't got orange paints, you can use, I had orange tissue paper, you might have, or you might pay a visit to another supermarket chain Sainsbury's, excellent orange bags. To cover the print, again, as I say, you would turn the bag inside out or use the other side. So they are some quick ways and cheap ways of covering the tubes if you haven't got coloured card. I, for the purpose of the demonstration, I'm going to use coloured card because it's quick and you don't want to sit and see me painting tubes and waiting for them to dry. That would be really, really boring. So I will be using coloured card, but do think about those other alternatives because they're all around the home. Just sort of think outside the box, really. The final thing, when you come to the pumpkin, I have brown card as a stalk sticking out. You could use the reverse side of a cereal packet, that works for a treat. Or if you had a cardboard box, because it's quite rigid for that stalk, that would work as well. So a few more ideas for you there. Right, let's crack on. I think we're going to start with Dracula. Here he is. I've kept it really simple. So all ages can have a go at this because the more able you are, the more detail you can add, or if you're slightly younger and you've got less supervision around, you can have a go at it yourself and just have a bit of fun. So let's start. So I've got my first tube and all you're going to do is take, in this instance, my piece of pink card, but you might have, you know, the napkin that I talked about or the table cover that is your pink. My tube measures 14 centimetres, so I simply cut a piece of card that was 14 centimetres wide. Just hold your tube up to your covering, whatever it is you're using, measure it up and cut it to the right size. How you stick your covering to the tube, again, is up to you. More advertising. Glue sticks, print sticks, work a treat. For the sake of this, I'm just using double-sided sticky tape. So you'll see me sitting there picking at that, I'm sure, for some of this session. Other glues that I'm going to have handy, only if there's an adult around. This is a solvent-based glue, all-purpose glue. It really is fab. It's smelly. That's how you know it's a solvent-based one. Please, please use that with adult supervision, okay? We need adult supervision with that one. You might also want to use a hot glue gun. Again, adult supervision. Don't do that on your own. I've also got some sticky double-sided squares if you wanted to use those, and once again, I seem to live in the pound shop. They've got these rather fabulous glue dots which are really very strong, and I thoroughly recommend those. So there's some of the adhesives we might be using. Anyway, back to this piece of pink. So I'm just going to first of all hold my pink card up to my tube and just roll it round to get the card bending in the right direction. And all I'm doing is rolling that around the card before I stick it. Then I unwrap the card. You would put your glue stick on or your double-sided tape, as I have done here. I'm just going to peel that off at each end, like so. I line my tube up with my card. It may go off at a wonky angle. If it does, I'll just trim it up afterwards. It doesn't matter. And you roll your covering, whatever you decide to do, or paint around your tube. And that is the basis of our Dracula, who is right there. Next up, I'm going to have a go at the hair. Now you could just use a felt tip pen and paint on the hair if you wanted to. You could use, I've got some black wool over here. You could use black wool if you wanted to. I'm going to use card because, as I said, it's much quicker. And to get that, I think it's called a widow's peak, that point that comes down on Dracula's hair, we want it to be symmetrical. We don't want a great big rise out on this side and it being really low down here like it's got wonky eyebrows. We want that to be exactly symmetrical. So the way you do that, you take a piece of black paper or black card, fold it in half. And now if I grab a white pen so that you can see what I'm drawing, there we go. If I can hold it up. Let me grab something to hold it up with for you like I did yesterday. Here we are. And starting at the point in the middle of his head, we're only drawing half of the hair. So it goes up and down into a point there. Can you see that? So that shape there, put this on the side, is what we're going to cut out. Very quickly. Down into that point. Right, so I'm going to throw these bits on the floor. Have a good old tidy up later. So I'm going to open that up. And there we have that symmetrical hairstyle that I was talking about with the point. Now I'm keeping the seam where I'm putting all my sticking at the back, just so it looks better. So what we will do is Pritt stick round or glue stick round the hair like so around the top of the tube. I'm going to do that really quickly now. I'll probably have to edit these parts out later if I can work out how to do that on the computer. I'm not very techie. There we go. Oh, sticking to me. So let's place that on. I'm going to wrap that around, keeping it level with the top of the tube, around to the back there. And that's his hair in place. Now I have on mine, only because I had line around, because I have got a lot of old toot line around, I had some sequins, so I've blinged up his hairline slightly with some sequins there, but you don't have to do that. That's entirely optional for you. So let's move that out of the way. The next thing I'm going to stick on is this very simple triangular high collar that comes off of his cape that you can see there. So again, really simple, depending on the size of your tube. My one that I'm going for is going to be 13 centimetres long by 13 centimetres long. So I will measure that out very quickly. 13 centimetres, there it is, by 13 centimetres there, and then draw a diagonal line between the 2 points. Like so. So you're cutting a triangle off of the corner of the piece of paper or card that you're going to be using. Let me chop that down now, very quickly. As simple as that. Now then, I want to make sure that I stick my cape down the middle. So till I get that centre line, I fold my triangle point to point and fold it and open it out again, and there's my centre line there that I'm going to run my Pritt stick or my double-sided tape down in order to stick it to the back of my Dracula tube. So let's do that quickly now. Here's a Pritt stick, straight down that folded line, that folded edge. Now then, I want to make sure I put it in the right place. So my point of my hair is here, so I check where the back of my Dracula is going to be, and that will sit just underneath his hairline at the back. You see that? And I'm just rubbing my fingers down the back of the tube to make sure he's fully stuck. Now the best part, I think, whenever you're making a character or drawing a face, is when you start getting the features on there. All of these, barring the pumpkin, have got googly eyes. I call them googly eyes, these sort of rattly eyes. Some of you may have those in a craft box at home. If you haven't, don't panic. Honestly, there's so much you can do. You can cut out, draw around a 10p piece if you want to on white card or paper and just draw on and paint on the black pupils. You could stick buttons on if you wanted to. You could just draw directly onto the tube, it doesn't matter. But for this purpose, I'll move these ones out of the way, I'm going to go with the googly eyes. And this is where I love these glue dots. Honestly, pound shop, get yourself down there. So there's my glue dot. I'm just going to get hold of a googly eye, which I'm sure at some point I'll drop during this demonstration. It'll go skating across the floor. Put my glue dot on. Let's stick his first eye in. 1 and oh, there it is. I have to lay it down. And 2. Now, because I'm going to make my Dracula look quite evil, to give a character that kind of impression, that sort of I'm scary, I'm angry, that kind of look, the eyebrows need to slope downwards at a diagonal. If they're kept curved, they're all very friendly. So if you want a friendly Dracula, obviously keep the eyebrows at that angle, but I want mine to be a little bit menacing, a little bit scary. So I'm going to give him some diagonal bushy eyebrows. Here we go. He really needs to go and get them waxed. Or the bushy eyebrows in at the moment, I can never remember. So there we go. I've got these sort of diagonal coming down at an angle above his eye there. Next, I'm going to keep it really simple. How you do the nose is up to you. I'm keeping it really basic. I'm just using paint pens. You could use a marker pen, a felt tip pen, pencils, whatever you have at home, just to draw on. I'm going to give him a round nose. Why not? There it is. Now we're going to move down to the mouth. It's all very self-explanatory. I don't really need to teach this, do I? but I will anyway. Get my pens out, here they are. These paint pens are fantastic. I can't recommend them enough. So I'm going to make him although he's got evil eyebrows, I'm going to still give him a smiley face. Like so. Keeping it really, really simple. And obviously what he's missing is fangs. Now I've got a white paint pen. You may not have a white paint pen, in which case you can just cut out some white fangs, just triangles, and stick those on. Or you could use a bit of Tipp-Ex. If you've got Tipp-Ex at home, that would work. So I'm just going to quickly paint in his fangs. Wait. 1 and 2, and you could have a little bit of blood dripping off the bottom of those if you wanted to. So the fangs are in. The white paint pens do need a second coat, so it does look a bit faint at the moment, but hopefully you can see the fangs that I've drawn on there. And the last thing I was going to do is give him a bow tie. Again, you can use whatever you have around the home for this. I had some felt, you might have some old material, some paper. You could just paint on a bow tie or colour in a bow tie. If I show you so that I get this symmetrical as well, and I'm sorry if I'm teaching you something you already know, I'm going to fold my material in half. And the shape I'm looking to draw on the back, if I show you, is a semicircle first of all on the folded edge. That folded edge I do the semicircle on, and then I'm going to come out for the bow tie like this, and I'll hold it up to the camera for you, that kind of shape. Okay, so that when you cut it out you end up, hopefully, she says, with bated breath, with a symmetrical bow tie. Whoop. Coming round. Okay, and that bow tie you can stick on underneath his chin there. I won't bother doing that right now. If I hold up this original one, because honestly you can decorate this how you want to. You might want to put some ears on him, as this dude has got here. Like I say, you can put some sequins around the hairline if you want to. They would also look quite nice, going edging the cloak there as well. But that's entirely optional. So that's your Dracula Halloween tube. Quite simple. I'm going to move all these bits out of the way, and we'll move on to character number 2. Let me move these googly eyes out of the way. That's it. And I'll pop him down on the floor just for a sec. There we go. So number 2 is probably the easiest and quickest one out of all of the 4 tubes that I'm showing you today, and it's the mummy, this one here. Okay, so it starts off as per usual. You take your tube, mine is brown. If you're using a toilet roll tube, and I believe, thinking about it, from the kitchen roll tube, they're also this grey colour, so you don't really need to worry too much about covering the tube. I'm just being fussy because that's just how I am. So I've got some grey paper. You can paint it grey, as we've said before, or cover it in newspaper. Hardly any of it shows though, so I really won't worry too much. Pop my rubbish down there. All I'm doing, as I did before, is rolling my paper, my grey paper, around my tube, so I've got that base colour in place. There we go, that's my grey tube now. This is so simple, this will take about 2 seconds to show you. So you can wrap bandage around your tube. Again, I'm plugging Pound Shop. I went down to the Pound Shop, and they've got a box of, I think it is, 1, 2, 3, there it is, 3 crepe bandages for £1. I can't go wrong. I've still got some left in there. So you can nip down to the Pound Shop and get those if you want to go for that authentic bandage look. If not, and as I've said, I'm trying to source things from around the home to save on the pennies, you could cut a strip of kitchen roll, okay, just like so, and use that as a bandage. You could use toilet roll and wrap that round. If you've got an old pillowcase, cut that into strips and wrap it round. I have, as I said yesterday, even used a sock, cut up an old sock for this that, you know, wasn't going to be used anymore. Clean sock, mind, but I have cut up a sock for it. So I'm going to go with the crepe bandage. Now, depending on how you find this, how easy it is for you to move around and manipulate, I can wrap this round quite happily, as you can see, holding it down on itself without it sliding around too much. For little fingers, that might be a bit tricky, trying to keep it in place. So what you can do, because you're covering it over anyway, is put a piece of sticky tape. I use double-sided tape because that's what I've got to lie around. But you would just lay a piece of tape holding the end in place, or glue or whatever, holding the end in place whilst you wrap, if you're struggling to keep it all in place. I'm just going to wrap that round. And it doesn't matter if there's bits poking through or you haven't covered all of the card. What I am aiming to do is leave a tiny area exposed where these big eyes are sticking out. If you don't manage that, it does not matter in the slightest, okay? Sometimes I manage it, sometimes I don't. So let me get this round to the top. There's the gap that I'm trying to leave, that I was just talking about there, where my eyes are gonna sit. Wrap this round his head, come back round down to his body. I'm trying, if I can, to pull as much as I can so that it finishes, that seam part finishes at the back of the mummy. But again, doesn't really matter too much. How you secure this at the end is up to you. Double-sided tape, smelly glue, if there's an adult around you can go for that. Even the glue dots will hold it. For the moment, I think, can't remember how I did the last one, for ease I'm going to use my smelly glue. Put a blob of that there. Please, 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 please don't use that without an adult. It's messy and it's smelly. I'm just going to wrap it and hold it in place. And look at that, he's nearly finished already. All that we need to add are those goggly eyes or those cut out eyes or whatever it is you're using for your eyes. I liked on this one, just because it made me laugh, using different sized eyes, like one big bulgy eye and one smaller eye. So I've sourced those, here they are. And again, I'm going to use my glue dots. I'm going to start putting stuff around and not finding it, there it is. There we go, put my glue dot. Stick my eye to my glue dot and then peel it away. And I'm popping it in a little gap. That's bad English for me. Little gap between the bandage there. My mum would tell me off for speaking like that. She won't really. So there's a little one. And then I'm going to take the bigger eye. Like so. Sticking my eye onto the glue dot if you're doing it that way round. Don't try peeling the glue dot off. It doesn't work. There we go, and stick the big eye on there. Like that. There we go, we have our mummies. Ooh, that's sculpture number 2. So at this stage, you will have your Dracula and your mummy. Moving on to number 3. Number 3 is probably my favourite, and I don't know why. It just makes me laugh, makes me smile, and that's Frankenstein over here, our green monster. And you can have quite a bit of fun with this one. Look at the mess I'm making, honestly. Just throw that under the table. Can't work in a mess. So, here comes our tube again. The base colour, as I said at the beginning of the video, is green. So if you haven't got green card and you haven't got green paint, go and get a Marks and Spencer's bag from somewhere and use that instead, or any sort of green material that you can find. I have my card at the ready with my tape attached, which I'm just going to peel off. Throw it under the table. And I'm going to wrap my tube once again around my card around my tube rather, get it in the right order. Gone off at a bit of a wonky angle, but it doesn't matter. There we are. So there's my green tube, ready to be turned into Frankenstein. I'm going to start at the very, very top. Now I've just used on this one a piece of card, which I'm going to use for this demo too. You could use black wool if you've got any black wool around the home. You could just use a felt tip pen or paint and colour in the hairline there so that it's a zigzaggy effect. Let me throw these bits out of the way, otherwise I'm going to end up with stuff everywhere. I had some black pipe cleaners, which, you know, you could poke in and he could have wild hair if you wanted him to. Really let your imagination go wild. Let me move those out of the way for a sec. I'm going to stick with the card for the hair, and just to show you. So you take a strip, let me measure it for you so you've got a rough idea of how deep it is. It's about 3 centimetres wide, 3.5 centimetres wide. I'm not just going to wrap that round with a flat edge at the bottom. What we want to do is cut into it lots of triangles at different heights and depths. So I'm just snipping in the triangles there, quite hard to see black. Can you see what I'm doing? Just chopping in these triangles. I'll do it very, very quickly. You can take your time. I'll zoom along. I should have had one prepared, shouldn't I? Bear with me. I'm nearly there. So they're all different depths. Big triangles, little triangles. So it's all higgledy-piggledy and wonky-woo. Like so. And then you can either run your Pritt stick along the back or run a line of double-sided tape along the back, however you want to stick it to your Frankenstein tube. I'm going with a Pritt stick just because it's quick and to hand. There we go. Glue on. And again, I want to make sure that my seams are all at the back where they can't be seen. So I take the middle of my hair and put it in the middle of where the front of the face is going to be, roughly. And that means, by doing that, that when I wrap the hair around the back of the head, the seams will all be at the back and hidden. They can't be seen. Like so. Give it a little bit of a squeeze. Make sure it's fully stuck. So moving down, there are two strips. One that the eyes sit on, a black strip that the eyes sit on, and one that's representing the mouth just across there. They are literally just two triangles. The eye one is slightly deeper than the mouth one. If you haven't got the card, you could use black bin liners, chop up a bit of black bin liner if you wanted to. You could use a felt tip pen to mark in the black, whatever you've got to hand to get that effect. So I'm just again going to put some Pritt stick on the back. Now I'm not going right to the edges because I end up with glue all over this table. I should have put some newspaper down first. So make sure you go right to the edges when you put your glue on. You don't want any flappy bits sticking up. Like that. Okay. Here's my Frankenstein. So the first one we're going to go for is that eye block. I'm going to stick it across at a diagonal angle. It's getting late. Like so. Look, I haven't stuck my edges down properly, so make sure that you do that. But I'm just doing this as a demo. It's a bit of a rush, I know. Then again, with the smaller, the narrower of the two strips for the mouth, going in the opposite diagonal. God, some tongue twisters going on here. Like that. Now to this top one, we're going to add our googly eyes. Again, if you haven't got your googly eyes, draw them. Remember, on the white card, and put the black pupil in the middle. You could even have yellow eyes that are all bloodshot. You know, really go for it. Use your imagination. I need my glue dots. There they are. To stick on the back of my googly eyes. So remember, the glue dot sticks to the eye first. Don't try and pick that glue dot off. They are really quite strong. And then you sit the eye on top of that black strip, like so. That flappy edge is really annoying me. I'm trying to not ignore it as best I can. There we go. Second eye. Pop it in place. His mouth is already there. I've given my Frankenstein a very, very simple nose. Let me take my paint pen. So I've just put a little nose, and you could do a little round circle. You could give him a crookedy nose like this one. The ugly monster nose like that, something like that. Can you see? You could also add, as I have, a couple of stitches and scars here and there, just to make him come to life. So I'm going to do that quickly around his eyes. Where else should we put one down here, I think? Like so. Okay, I've got a few little war wounds there. And the last thing, which I think is the final touch, is that nut that he has going through his neck, those nuts on the other side of his neck, because he's a man-made monster, I believe, and he's got these nuts holding his head in place. Now there's lots of options for this. If you haven't got any sort of silver mirror card at home, why would you? You could use silver foil. What have I got over here as options? Silver foil. You could draw around a 50p piece is perfect, or if you've got a much smaller tube, even a 20p piece, to get that sort of hexagonal or octagonal, whatever shape it is, bolt shape to go around there. If you've got a hot glue gun and an adult helping you, and you have lying in a toolbox somewhere some nuts, you could actually glue gun the nuts to the side with the neck. You could try it with the solvent glue, but you'd be there for quite a while. These are heavy, holding it in place. So if you're going to go for the real thing, I would say go with the glue gun with an adult helping you. If you haven't got any silver foil and you haven't got a nut, then I'm sure you have lying around a packet of crisps. If you open the crisp packet inside, or I could eat those right now, it's silver foil basically, so you cut the shape out of that. Everyone must have a packet of crisps at home, surely. So you have got some silver there that you can use as another option. Never let it be said we can't think outside the box. I had, just because I happen to have some tacky back silver plastic, which I'm going to use. I'm just going to peel off those shapes and stick them to the side of my Frankenstein's neck. One on this side. I didn't bother cutting out the hole in the middle. I tried it with this one and it was a lot of faff for not much effect, so I've just left it as it is. But again, it depends how detailed you want to go. Let's put his other bolt on here. There we go, so he's got his bolts holding his neck on. I love Frankenstein. If you wanted to and you had a paint pen, I've not tried this. Let's see what it looks like. You could give him a red stitch mouth or a red mouth of some kind. Let's see if it looks better with a mouth. I don't know. We're trying. I'll show you both. What do you think? With or without the mouth? Your choice. There you go. That's Frankenstein. We're almost there. So we have Frankenstein, we have our mummy, we have Dracula. The last one, and probably I'd say the trickiest of them all, is our pumpkin. Let me just clear a space. Here's our pumpkin. Guess what? It starts with a tube. There's our tube. I've pre-cut the card. Again, I'll say it again. You could use paint to colour your tube in. You could go to Sainsbury's and use a Sainsbury's bag. Let me peel off this here. Move that one out of the way for a sec. Hope you're still with me. I was trying to seek out my Blue Peter badge that I won when I was a little girl, because somebody messaged me to say that yesterday's lesson was very Blue Peter. It's like a lifetime ambition fulfilled. Okay, so I'm just going to roll my orange paper now around my tube. Here we go. Oh, gone off at a wonky angle again. Let's start that again. There we go. Round it goes. Like so. Now the face on our tube, on our pumpkin, is probably the easiest. And you can do any sort of pumpkin shape eyes that you want to, really. I used 2 triangles on this one, a triangle for the nose, and I'll show you how I did the mouth in just a sec. I've cut out some bits and pieces here. So I've got a feeling these eyes might be a little bit big. Let me hold them up. Oh yeah, they're massive. Let me cut those down. So I fold a piece of black paper in half and cut the 2 triangles out at the same time, so that they're the same size. These are way too big. That's better. So I've got 2 identical triangles there that I'm going to stick on for eyes. Let's grab my Pritt stick. Try not to get too many flappy edges this time. Seam is at the back, remember, of your pumpkin. Always keep it at the back. Let's stick our eyes on. 1. Give it a push. It can be straight, it can be at an angle, however you want to do it. You could have star eyes, circle eyes, eye-shaped eyes. Okay, so there's my triangles in place. I'm starting to get very gluey fingers and it's going onto the card, but you get the idea. So there's our eyes. The nose, I kind of did like an arch with how I used to draw birds when I was little. Cut out the bottom there. So again, all you do is you fold the piece of paper, cut the shape of half of the nose, open it up, and it will be symmetrical. If you're struggling with that shape, keep it simple. Go for a triangle. That's what I did there. That's just another option. Okay, so I will stick his nose on. There we go. Ugh, getting very, very gluey. Pop his nose in place, like so. Now the mouth, again, you could just draw it on if you wanted to with a pen, or you can paint it on. if you're going to cut it out as I am, and you want it to be, the shape to be symmetrical, even if the teeth aren't, I'll show you the sort of shape that I do. So again, you fold your piece of card in half. So there's my folded edge there. This is open. And I will I'll draw it and then I'll hold it up so you can see. Half of a smiling face. I have to go over it a few times. This white's not very strong. Like so. So there's my folded edge and the mouth shape is there. Hope you can see that. Then you're going to cut that out. Like so. And when you open it up, it will just be like a smiley mouth. Now if you want to make it a little bit more pumpkin-like, you can cut some squares out where the teeth would be, just by cutting into this shape some random squares. So let me do that quickly. My big whopper chopper scissors. So I've cut one square out there, like a little notch. See that? I might want to do one at the bottom somewhere. But these aren't symmetrical at all. They're just here, there and everywhere. There's another notch there. And then the top notch, I'm going to go for 3. About here. If I hold that against something white so that you can see the shape. There we go. You can see we've cut those little squares out of that smiley mouth. And again, we're just going to put the Pritt stick on the back of the mouth. Why didn't I put newspaper down first? Getting glue everywhere. Never mind. So we're going to stick his mouth on like that. Is a bit creepy actually, but anyway, that's our pumpkin face. Next we're going to add on the stalk and the leaf. So remember at the beginning I said if you didn't have any brown paper you could use the inside cereal packet, the cardboard from a cereal packet, and obviously use the brown inside showing outwards, not the printed side, or you could use a cardboard box. Just a regular cardboard box to cut a stalk shape out of. I had grey card, that's the kind of thing I have here. I'll just show you the shape of the stalk. Make it quite long because you can see, I hope, that you kind of have to stick it down inside the tube. So if you make it short, then you have to push it inside the tube to stick it. You'll end up with this little stubby tiny stalk sticking out and you want it to be quite long. So I will draw that shape for you and hold it up. So it's kind of like when I used to draw trees when I was at school, that kind of shape, like so. And I'm doing this with a black pen because I think the black outline on the stalk and the leaf actually work on this one. I don't normally outline things in black, but I quite like it on this. At the top, I'm going to draw like a wibbly wobbly lemon shape, squash lemon shape. Can you see that kind of squashed ellipse there at the top? And then just to add some detail, running down the stalk, not in that lemon shape, but down the rest of it, just add some lines, like stalk shaped lines. I'll do it very, very quickly. I'm not going into that lemon shape at the top at all. There we go. So it looks like that. And then we're going to cut that out. Like so. And I'm cutting it so that I'm leaving the black outline showing. I just think it looks better. Again, that's up to you. Cut it out very, very quickly. There we have. And at the moment, there's our stalk and it's very flat and it's got to fit into the inside of a curved tube. So all I'm going to do is hold it and give it a little bend. Bend it up so that we find it easier to stick. Now where you're going to be putting your adhesive or your glue or your double-sided tape is on the front here at the bottom, because the stalk is going to stick inside there, so it needs to be on the front of the design of the stalk. I'm going to use a little bit of double-sided tape for this just because it's quick and easy, and you can see it if I hold it up. So look, my tape is going on the front of my stalk. Peel that away. This is a bit of tape now that will take forever to peel off, mark my words. Oh, there we go, got it. And I look at I want to get it in the middle, sort of in between his eyes, and I'm going to slide my pumpkin stalk into the tube. And when I'm happy with it, push your thumb on the inside to stick it. If you're using a glue, hold it for a little while. Double-sided tape is instant, so I can just push it in and it's stuck. Hope you can see that inside the tube. And then we're going to add a leaf next door. So I've got my green paper. If I show you it from behind, it's got quite a long stalk and then it points down. It's almost like a right angle, that leaf. I'm going to draw it quickly and then I'll hold it up to the camera again in that black pen because I like that black outline. I'll hold it up for 1 second. So can you see it's almost like a triangle shape, up and down. Great big leaf, big long stalk, and it's a long stalk because remember we have to tuck it down inside the tube to make it stick. Let's cut that out. And again, I want the black outline showing. You take your time cutting. I'm zooming round. I'm not being particularly accurate. My old art teacher would be telling me off for my cutting skills. Nearly there. You end up with something like that. Okay, and then you can add some detail to your leaf, sort of the veins of the leaf. I don't even know if a pumpkin has a leaf, but I just thought it looked good. There we go. So I've just added some veins to the leaf. You can also, if you want to at this point, if you've got pencil to hand, you can sort of wrap your leaf around to give it a slight curl, a slight bend. Okay, like that. And then you're going to do the same thing again and stick that leaf down inside the tube. Whether you're going to use Pritt Stick, I might use Pritt Stick this time. The lid's off, I might as well while it's there. And again, the glue goes on the front of the design, not the back, but on the front of the design. And then you slide that down inside the tube until you're happy with where it sits. And you give it a little push to stick it. You can see glue's not as instant as double-sided tape. Hold it and stick it to the inside of the tube. And at that point, you could leave your pumpkin like that if you wanted to. If you really want to go for the final little, oh, look, my leaf just dropped. The final details, should have used the double-sided tape. Let me give that a push. Well, that's drying, I'll lay that there. I put, can you see that, almost like stitches coming round my pumpkin to give it a pumpkin shape. I'll quickly show you that in case you want to have a go. So my first stitch line, gosh, how am I going to do this upside down? It's going to run down the centre of his face. So I'm going to mark it on, so this dashed line. I am going to turn it around and show you. It's not one that I can do without looking, I'm afraid. So that dashed line runs down the middle of the pumpkin's face. Now the next shapes are going to be like, you know, brackets. When you put something in brackets, that kind of shape. So I'm going to do the first one here, coming out sort of to the top of the eye, really. The point of the eye. Coming round, I really can't do that upside down. And then coming back down and in to the centre line. It's like a bracket. And you're going to do exactly the same thing, kind of symmetrical, on the other side. This is just optional. Don't panic. If you don't want to do this part, you don't have to. I'm coming out and then back into the bottom, so you can see that. And I'm going to repeat that process, but this time the bracket will have a bigger arch because it's coming out. It's coming out to the side. So I'm going to draw that one on for you so you can see. As the pumpkin gets wider, the lines get wider as well. The arch gets deeper. And I'll do the same on this side and then I'll show you. Kind of like the shape of a banana, really. But all these bracket lines all meet at the top and the bottom at the middle where we started. So can you see, there's our centre line. There's our first bracket, if you like. And that's quite narrow. And then this last bracket is really, really wide. It's like a banana coming out around the side and finishing down in the middle. And the same happens on this side. There's our centre line. There's our first, I call it bracket shape, that comes from the centre, out slightly, and then back down to the centre again. And then the final great big wide bracket starts at the centre, much wider, around the outside, and finishing down at the bottom. But that's just the optional, that's just optional. So you can do that or not. And I think there we have it. Let me have a quick check. I'll put them all up to show you. Get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this. So we have our pumpkins, yeah. We have our mummies, woo. Oh, wow, the Dracula's down on the floor. I'll leave them there. We have our Draculas, the other one's on the floor. And we have our Frankensteins. There we go. So really simple, really quick, really easy, and can be incredibly cheap if you source your materials around the home. I hope that helps you guys at the moment. I know things are a bit bleak and it's difficult to find things to do with kids. Been there, done it, got the t-shirt, so I know where we are. If you like what you see, please go to my website, www.bespoke creative design. I will try to keep posting some videos over the half term to give you some more ideas of things to do. Haven't thought yet what I'm going to teach you tomorrow, but watch your space. In the meantime, guys, take care, stay safe. Bye now.